Hello viewers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video I'll discuss Blazor forms, data binding and the form validation. This is the customer Blazor component file. Using this customer form we can submit customer data into the database. Here we can see the edit form. Edit form is not a HTML element. It is a Blazor framework component. Using this component, Blazor supports forms with validation, and this component has a attribute named model. This is the required attribute of this component. Using this model attribute, edit form component binds the form data with the model property. Here I am defining the model here, customer model. Okay, it should have been ampersand. This model has already been defined in the code block of this component. Here it is. Let's go to the customer model class. Here we can see there are properties of this model, like first name, last name, email, gender ID, country ID, and mailing address. Okay, let's see how the element of this customer components binds the data with the customer model property. This is the first element of this component, the input element. Using this element, we will submit the customer first name. Here is the bind value directive. Using this directive, Blazor binds the data, form data with the model property. So here my model is customer model, and this input text will bind the data with the first name property of the customer class. So here it is. In this way we can bind any particular input text value with any particular class property. So let's bind other fields of this form at the last name, and it will bind with the last name property, and this is the email address. It will bind with the email property of the customer class, and the data with the customer model is agree to get promotional email property. Let's add here. Okay, data binding is completed. Let's see how Blazor handles form submission. Here we can see there are three callbacks. The first one is on valid submit, and this callback is assigned to the event handler when form is submitted with valid fields. And second one is on invalid submit, and this callback is assigned to the event handler when form is submitted with invalid fields. And third one is on submit, and this is assigned to the event handler when form is submitted regardless of validation status. Let's add the form submission code. Here I'm adding the callback of on valid submit. So define the event handler, name it handle valid submit. Okay, so this should be defined in this code block. Okay, here the toaster message is form submitted with valid fields, and I would like to add the another callback that on invalid submit. So here I'm going to define the event handler handle invalid submit. Okay, let's define the event handler for on invalid submit. Here it was handle invalid submit. Okay, form submit with invalid fields. Let's run the application in was mode. Here .NET was. Let's save everything, Control S. And here Control. Sorry, there was a typo here. Let's click submit. Okay, here form submitted with valid fields because there is no required field in this form. So now the main part, the data validation part. Edit form component works with the data annotation to validate the form. Let's add some data annotation in the customer model. Here I am adding the required attribute. Okay. Sorry, let's add the required attribute in the first name. This will make the first name is required. To enable data validation in the customer component, I would like to add the data annotation validator. Data annotation validator component enables the data validation part in this component, and it goes under the edit form component. Let's see in browser. Let's click. Here we can see the two-star message form submitted with the invalid data. The on invalid callback was being called, but we can't see any notification in the form. So to get the validation summary, there is a component name validation summary. We add this component over there, so we'll get the validation message on top of the form. So let's see. Okay, let's click. Yeah, here we can see the first name field is required. So if we add the required field and submit the form again, here we can see the form submitted with the valid fields. That means on valid submit has been called and there was no message. There is no validation message. Also add a length attribute. Here we can define the maximum length of this first name. Here 50. Let's see. Let's click submit. Here we can see the first name field is required and type Ihsanul. Click again. Okay, the form is validated, but let's hit submit. Here we can see the first name must be a string with a maximum length of 50. We can also pass a customized message over there like this way. Here first name is too long, and also we can provide also customized message. Here a message first name is required. Okay, let's see. First click, we'll get the first name is required, the customer's message, and then type a long string over there. What is this? Oh, sorry, the first name is too long. Let's add this validation to other fields. Here we can, this is the last name, I'm writing her last name, and for the email address, so the email address, it should be email. Okay, the no length. Here the gender ID, I can say the, sorry, it should be email. You can put a tolerance over there, and so 1 to the 100. So country could be for the checkbox validation, we can say the type of bool, and the first one is true. Should be once submission disallows for false. Okay, here is required, our country is required. So I'm done with the data annotation with the customer model. Let's see in the browser. Let's click. Here we can see the all messages popped up on the top of the form. For making the application more user friendly, we think that the validation message will go under the input boxes. Let's add the validation message under the input boxes. There is a way. Here is the validation message component, and this is the Blazor component validation message. This handles the invalid message. Okay, let's add this component under the other input boxes. Let's add here. This is the last name input boxes. I would like to change it to the last name, and this is the email address. I would like to change it to email address. This is the gender. I would like to change it to gender. sorry, gender ID, and so on. Okay, let's see our browser. So let's click. Oh, we can see. Now we can see the message under is input boxes. Simply remove this validation summary from here. Okay, let's see. Okay, refresh the page. Click here. So there is no validation message over there, and if you write this null arc, click OK, we can see the form submitted with valid fields. That's all the data validation. If we go back to the validation part, couple of things we need to consider. That first we need to add the data annotation attribute in the model properties, and the second step we need to add the data annotation validator over there component, and the third step to see the validation message, we need to the validation message component under each component, or we can add a validation summary on top of the form. And for handling form submission, we can add two callback. One is on valid submit, another one is on invalid submit. On valid submit will be fired when the form is valid, form data is valid, and on invalid submit will be fired when the form is not invalid. That's all today. Please subscribe my channel to get the notification for the future video. If you have any comments or question, please write on the comment box. I'll be get back with you. Thank you for watching my videos.